Well, and especially because they're not looking for a quarterback, and we still don't know how many are going to be taken. That's one of the reasons why the Jets refuse to give up pick 13 overall straight out, because they see themselves in a spot where the run is going to be on things that they don't necessarily need.
Sure,
they're in a position where they're higher de facto than 13. And, oh, by the way, as Matt Casey points out, the Patriots are the team now that picks one spot before the Jets at 15. So that was not an inconsequential portion of this trade. And my guess is that that's the thing that the Packers threw in last minute-ish to say, here's what it's going to take to get the deal done. Because we'd never heard anybody report anything about 13 and 15 being flip-flop. That came out of the blue yesterday. It's possible it came out of the blue as far as the Jets were concerned yesterday, because the Packers sensed that they had laid down the lumber hard enough to get Woody Johnson's attention, and they got what they wanted. Here's Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, who conveniently had his pre-draft press conference just after the trade was announced, talking about the urgency to get the deal done yesterday.
I would say the last, 5, 6, 7 days we've been talking. We've been talking, much longer than that. But I think the last 5 or 6 days over the weekend and stuff that there's been a lot of conversation that helped us get to this point.
Brian, how important was it to get this done before Friday?
It was very important for us. I think, wouldn't have been the end of the world, but at the same time, I think it would have certainly changed things quite a bit. So getting it done ahead of time was important. I just think certainly the capital for this year, was very important, certainly more valuable than future stuff. We've been working on this for a while, and to get beyond the draft, I think would have been tough for both teams.
Yeah, it really wouldn't have been, because, number one, the cap hit for the Packers goes down dramatically after June 1, so there was benefit in waiting. But they made it clear to the Jets, this is it. And if it doesn't happen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call his bluff. We're going to welcome him back with open arms to be the backup to Jordan Love. And we'll pay the $60 million because it's not coming out of anyone's super yacht maintenance fund. It's all a public company. It all gets buried into the books. And at the end of the day, the ends are meeting quite well for the Green Bay Packers. They can afford to pay that money to Aaron Rodgers as part of the back end of a failed leverage play against the New York Jets. And it worked. They convinced them. Yesterday was the day. These are the terms. And they got it done. So that part of it surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me, because I really thought the Jets were going to drive a hard bargain. I really thought the Jets were going to hold firm. And I really thought the Jets' attitude was, hey, fine, if we don't get it done this week, fine. You don't get 2023 draft picks. We'll do it based on 24. Yeah. It would have been cleaner and easier to base it on 24, assuming a formula like the one they used for the Favre trade. And I'm telling you, the Favre trade, in comparison, to the extent that, it hurts Aaron Rodgers for the Jets to give up so much, because these are selections that could help him be more successful this year, especially that 13-15 flip-flop. I guess the 2024 doesn't really matter, because it would just be a guy who makes a difference or doesn't in his final year if he is going to stay for 2. But to the extent that he's looking for reasons to feel like he's a better player, a better quarterback, a more desirable figure than Brett Favre, he's got a feather in his cap now. Favre, third-round pick, that's it. Right. Nothing else.
Right.
Nothing. Peanuts in comparison to what had to be surrendered by the same team to get Aaron Rodgers. Ipso facto, Rodgers is the better player late in his career than Brett Favre, because it really does. Apples to apples, it really does show that the Jets are making a much greater investment financially and draft pick capital-wise in Rodgers than they did in Favre.
Yeah, they are. It's interesting. And, hey, listen, in my eyes, I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre. I do. I mean, you know how highly I think of Aaron Rodgers. I think he's arguably the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Especially in his prime, he was special. And I know Brett Favre was damn special too, and he's up there in that conversation. But, too, I think that adds to it is, it's a guy that won back-to-back MVPs just, 2 out of the last 3 years. That maybe adds value to it too, right? But I think, all the things you said are right. I think the Jets just came to the determination of they didn't want to play that game anymore. They needed that guy in the building. They wanted him right now, right? They want him there. They didn't want to have to deal with the distractions. They probably didn't want Zach Wilson having to lead their offense and be that guy during practice and OTAs and all that. They want their new leader in. That's weird. Oh, wait, hey, quarterback that we don't want. Can you lead the offense right now? And then – I think they're looking at it too with like, okay, it's a small price to pay, but we don't want the distraction. We need them here. We don't want people bringing up the things that we brought up all year. Well, the Jets should have got this done. What'd they think? Did they really think that they could get all on the same page, by at the end of July and make it happen by the time the season starts? I think there's a lot of ifs and whats and all of that. Like, yeah, they could have maybe pulled that off, but why risk it? And so what? We're ready. So make the move. And then I think from the Packers standpoint too, right? You heard Goody say, get capital this year, right? That's the one thing. Get capital this year because you don't know if you're going to be the GM next year. Things could fall off, and there's no capital for you to have next year. So get it this year. Plus, what do they want to do too? They want to prove Jordan Love's the right pick. They want to stick it up Aaron Rodgers, what. So now they got some more playing room here to make Jordan Love look better and stick it up Aaron Rodgers, what, even farther. So they're happy. That's another win-win for them. So I find it interesting. You do. And I find that 13-15 swap very interesting, Mike, because I got to think there's something on their mind or in their eye that they see that they go, ooh, we need to move up just a little bit here because we have an eye on a player that we need for our team.
And maybe add some other stuff to swoop into the top 10 and get that guy. The way see the board falling, there's going to be somebody there they really want, whether it's Jalen Carter, whether it's Devin Witherspoon, somebody out there that they think is going to make them better that they need to jump into range to get. And now they're starting from a spot 2 positions higher if they're going to start throwing other assets onto the fire. It makes sense. It makes sense. It's another reason why they drew that line yesterday that today's the day it's got to be done.
I think so. I think here's the other reason I'll just throw out there too. I think with that 15 where they were, you're at danger in 15 of, maybe if the top 2 tackles in the draft could be off the board by the time you get to 15, right? So if you had your eye on one of the 2 guys there at 15, you're dicey because one, hey, we all think the Bears, right? They could want to tackle at number 9. They need O-line. I don't think Tennessee's out of the offensive line conversation at 11, so that could be a problem. I think the Patriots at 14, who we were just talking about, are also going to be in the market for a tackle. So this assures them to jump up in front of them and take one player out of the tackle conversation if that's what they're worried about. That's the thing that jumps out to me. I don't know if maybe there is like you said, a Jalen Carter on their radar. If he falls, somebody else. But the tackle position is the one that I thought maybe they were, jogging or jockeying for a position there.
They have enough holes that there are different ways they could go.
Yeah, there is.
With that pick if they're looking to get into the top 10. And there must be somebody they really, really, really love that they're trying to get in position to go get. And, of course, they're not going to tell us in advance because then it becomes easier for the teams that want that guy to go get him. And they'll act like they got the guy they wanted all along and will, I think, be able to tell by their body language and their demeanor and their expression if they really are selling it effectively that this is the guy we wanted. This is why we insisted on pick number 13. This is why we packaged whatever else we did to get into the top 10. And that could indeed be coming. Or they just don't have the opportunity because the planets don't line up that way and they just don't do it. But either way, it does feel like, to your point from yesterday, and you were right on the money, the idea that they may want to get it done before Thursday night because there's something they have brewing. And moving from 15 to 13 underscores the idea that something is brewing.
Or even Mike, to stay at 13, and now you have the second-round picks. And what if you want to get back up in the end of the first round and have that fifth-year option and there's a guy there, right? So they've given themselves some wiggle room in both areas there that I think makes sense. Sorry to cut you off, man.
That's all right. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.